Welcome back. Today's lab is going to be a demonstration on the aseptic use of a pipette. What is a pipette? A pipette is a device that we use to aseptically and accurately transfer microorganisms, media, whatever it is that's liquid that we need to transfer from one place to the other. Now, these pipettes come in various different sizes. Here you see that this is a 5 ml or milliliter pipette that can deliver solutions in 1 ml increments, you can also do decimals. This is a 10 ml pipette that can deliver or transfer up to 10 milliliters of whatever culture it is that you're trying to transfer. And then we also have a smaller pipette that is a 1 ml pipette that can transfer microorganisms, solutions, media in increments of 0.1 ml. So depending on what the needs are, we have different pipettes to be utilized for that. In your community drawer, you would have noticed that you had a device that looked like this. This is called a pipettement. And a pipettement is what we use to connect our pipette to transfer volumes of microorganisms or solutions from one container to the other. Now notice that I mentioned a couple of things. It is to accurately and aseptically transfer microorganisms from one place to the other. How do we create an aseptic environment in the lab? Think about that. How do we do that? That's right, by using our Bunsen burner flame. Okay, so what I'm going to demonstrate for you is first I'm going to show you a little bit about these pipettes. These pipettes are sterile. Okay, they come individually wrapped and they have the little area here that we can use to open them. Okay. I want you to notice that the pipette has a little cotton plug here. That's actually important because as we are aspirating the liquid, we want to make sure that we do not contaminate our pipettement. So this is sort of a block. It will prevent any of the solution from continuing to go up and getting onto our pipette. Although if you continue to aspirate or draw up the volume, eventually you can get this soaked and can contaminate. Okay, so I'm going to take out my pipette from its sleeve, and I want you to notice that there are graduations on this pipette. Okay, so these pipettes go from, in larger markings, this is a total of a 10 ml pipette. It is 9 mLs, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, all the way up to 0. Now this is a little bit opposite of what many students think about when they're drawing volumes. Normally you think about, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Well, in science, we kind of do it opposite. We basically measure the volume as we are releasing the solution into whatever it is that we're using. However, we do have it, or these pipettes do have the graduations in, I guess, what students would think is more the traditional way, which is 1 ml, 2 mLs, 3 mLs. But you can barely see these graduations because in a research lab, we don't use that really to measure. We don't use those that direction to measure the volumes. We use the opposite, if you will, as we release the volume. Okay. So the 10 ml and the 5 ml pipette has the graduations listed in both ways. Okay, but so it's going to be up to you how you want to list that. The 5 ml pipette also has a cotton plug, and maybe you can appreciate the numbers better on the 5 ml pipette. There we go. It starts off with the bigger numbers 4, 3, 2, 1 up to 0. Yeah. And then the 1 ml pipette, we usually measure our, you want to open it in the area where the cotton plug is because the tip is sterile. You don't want to touch the tip with your hands. So we can also see that the 1 ml pipette has the cotton plug there. Now the 1 ml pipette, we are measuring volumes in increments of 0.1, and this one only has the graduations listed as we would use them in science. So it would be 0.9, 0.8, 0.7. That's the only way. It's not listed 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4. So let me show you now how we use our pipette to draw volumes. Here you see that I have some colored water to make it easier for demonstration purposes. Okay. And so what I'm going to use is I'm going to use my 5 ml pipette. It's okay, I can use my 10 ml pipette. It's just a little, it's the same. Oh, great. Okay, so I insert where the cotton plug is onto my pipette. It's a tight fit because it's a brand new one. I wanted to bring a new one home to use. Okay, I'm going to open it up. Now notice that your pipette has a little roller here. This is what we're going to roll to aspirate our solution up. So the process of drawing the liquid is referred to as aspiration. So I'm going to hold this and I am turning the wheel and you'll see the liquid that's being drawn. See that? Okay. And so let's say that this is the amount of volume that I want to draw, or I want to draw more. I want to draw 10 ml. I go here, right? There are two different ways that we would deliver our liquid, our solution, to our other container. In our pipette, there is this button here that if I push it, watch what happens. This one right here. Do you see what's happening? It is releasing the fluid. Okay. Now I would just roll this back down. Okay. That is how we use the pipette. Okay. So the other method that we can release the volume, if the easiest would be pushing this button here that I showed you. The other method would be just rolling this wheel back down. And as you roll it, you see you are releasing the solution. Okay. So at this point, the tip would be contaminated, presumably contaminated if you were working and transferring microorganisms. Okay. We would always dispose of these pipettes tip down into a disinfectant solution in the lab. Here on the screen, you see the various different sizes that these pipettes come in, or these pipettes come in. The one here with the little yellow top is the 1 ml pipette that I demonstrated, that I showed you, followed by, oh, this is a new one. I haven't really seen this one. It's just a little larger, probably a couple mils. Here is the 5 ml pipette, the 10 ml pipette, 25 ml pipette, and here it looks like this is even larger. These are, the larger they are, the trickier in a way it gets because it's a lot of volume to hold in this narrow tube. Okay. So to recap, what you are asked to do in your laboratory notebook is to basically draw the pipette that you used. You used a 10 ml pipette and a 5 ml pipette. And I'm going to give you an example of what you're going to be doing. On one side of the pipette, you're going to be writing the graduations, how you would like to draw up the volume. On my 10 ml pipette, the example that I have here, the way that I drew my graduations are the way that we basically use them in a research lab. Either way is fine. You know, they're labeled both ways, but the way that I labeled my 10 ml pipette was 9 mLs, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0 mLs. So remember that the way that we normally measure these volumes are as we are releasing the solution. So let's say that I am here looking at where do I draw up 7 mLs, where would you draw it up to? If you wanted 7 mLs of a solution, how much would you aspirate? Where would you aspirate up to? How far up in the pipette would you draw up your volume? Think about that. Would it be the 7? Well, that would be wrong because as you release the volume, let's measure it. Here is 1 ml, 2 mLs, 3 mLs. You would only be delivering 3 mLs and not the 7 mLs that is desired. So if you want 7 mLs and you're using this type of method for measuring your volume on the pipette, you would actually aspirate your solution up to the 3 ml mark, you see? And so in your laboratory notebook, this is what you would do. On one side, you would label the graduations as they exist on the pipette. And on the other side, with an arrow, you would draw where in that pipette would you draw up your volume to. So now what about 4 mLs? What if I wanted 4 mLs, if I wanted to draw up 4 mLs using a 10 ml pipette? To what volume or what number would I draw up my solution? That's right. That would be up to the 6 ml mark, right? On the pipette. Because as we are releasing the volume, if we draw it up to here, we see that this is 1 ml, 2, 3, and 4 mLs. We would be delivering 4 mLs total volume. Now, what about when using the 5 ml pipette? Here in this example, I decided to draw the graduations or write them in the way that it oftentimes makes more sense to students. And that is starting with 1 ml, 2, 3, 4, 5 mLs. So if I wanted 2 mLs, where would I draw up my volume to? That's right, just to the 2. So it's the same, right? The same volume, it's the same number that you draw up. If I wanted 4 mLs, I would draw up my volume up to the 4 ml on the pipette. Okay. As a reminder, your 5 ml and 10 ml pipette have graduations listed both ways. The traditional way for using in a science research lab, and then the other way that sometimes students find it a little bit more friendly, right? So in a 5 ml pipette, the graduations are listed as 43210, as well as 12345. However, in the 1 ml pipette, the graduations are listed only one way. They're listed in increments of 0.1, but they're listed as beginning at the bottom with 0.9, 0.8, going up, 0.7, etc., all the way to 0 mLs. Okay, and this concludes today's lab of aseptic use of pipette.